Paxton. This is one of the most influential and exciting sessions that we're going to have this year. Dap is going to talk to us about his journey and how you can think about being a freelancer. I was looking at some studies that many of us, if we're not a freelancer now, so say somebody works for a company, at some point there's a decent chance that they may either need to do it on their own or the company might insist on it.
Hmm.
There's one thing I read that there's a decent amount of everyone who thinks they're in some corporate job.
Yeah.
The amount of that is shrinking
Hmm.
every single day. And so I'm so glad to have you back. This is fantastic. For those of you who can actually see this, it's going to be here for one day only. After that, you will be able to go to kianasvoice.org and be able to donate to this and hear Dap's session. So if you're on it today, you can actually go in and you can actually check it and give us some and give Dap some comments or questions that you might have. For those of you who can see us on the bottom, you can see we got donates to kianasvoice.org, or you can cash app to Kiana's Voice. And for those of you who want to, uh, who have a phone or something available, you have a QR code for the Creativity Cocktails for Kiana's Voice right here up the top, right or left, depending on where you're looking at this. And then you can go ahead and just scan it and donate whatever you wish. Our goal is to raise $5,000. We've got a long way to go, and every single bit you can do for us will help us with that. So Dap, welcome. Great to have you back, brother. You're one of the most fantastic brothers I know. So I am so excited to have you back with us.
You know what's funny, man? I feel the same way about you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
and
you.
and I'm honored to be you know, um, a vessel for such an honorable cause as Kiana's Voice. And I hope you all enjoy what I have to share, what I have to offer. Um, it's kind of choppy on my end, Winston.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So it looks like
Shit.
we might be having some challenges with Dap's feed at the moment. So I think we might be losing him. Are you there, Dap? So while Dap works on that thing, let's talk to you a little bit about Kiana's Voice. Dap is part of a wonderful team of folks that are working towards this goal. So I mentioned it about us trying to get to our $5,000 mark, and you might say, "Well, you want $5,000 for?" The reason why we are working for $5,000 that we're going to give to a person, a computer, a camera, technology, all of that they need to be a creative person, and particularly a young person. So if you know of a young person who desperately needs that, please let us know, and or please go to countersvoice.org. Right now, as we are talking, you can actually go in and submit somebody. You can actually put somebody's actual name in the hat. We've got a form, very simple form, so we're not going to ask you for anything of a particular nature. Just who you are, a little bit about how we can contact you, and why do you or the person you think is a recipient should receive Kiana's voice. And so that is such a great way for us to think about how we can help a person. So the Creativity Cocktail is just one part of Rising Tides Charity. Rising Tides Charity is also going to be doing a what we call the Tonys, named after Tony Simmons Henson, here in August, where be talking to, we will be awarding one person in our community who has the ability or who has done something in our community that's not just memorable for themselves, but actually helped some other people in the community that actually went back, that actually helped them grow or actually had a broader sense of how they could help the community. So if you think about John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, and one of those is up the top where it's like where you affect your community. So let's see if we got Dap back. Brother Dap, are you back with us?
I'm back. It looks like I am back. Can
That
you hear
is
me?
awesome. Yes, we can indeed.
Cool. Doesn't look
So
like I'm pop locking on the camera.
No, 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 not unless you actually pop locking. So, so, so let's go in and get into the session. So, Dap, tell us the first thing when you think about a freelancing. What's the first thing that you want to share with our community out there?
Man, the first thing is really mindset. Um, Mindset is everything, and I know that's like a buzzword these days, but the reality is, you have to set your mind to being successful as a freelancer. Um, and once that's set, then there's nothing that can stop you. Um, One thing about the life of a freelancer, a lot of people get into freelancing or even entrepreneurship because they want more time freedom, or
Mhm.
they found something that they're very passionate about, that they want to offer the world, they want to bring to the marketplace and monetize on that passion, just so we can feel free, especially as artists. One of our main things is just being free and not feeling like we have to be bound to a 9 to 5, and all that comes with that. So people choose freelancing and entrepreneurship, and it's hard to know what to expect. Especially if it's something that you've never done before, and a lot of things you learn like on the spot.
Right,
So, but that's the life of an entrepreneur anyway. We are here as problem solvers for the marketplace, and we find a problem that needs to be fixed, and then we bring that solution, and we charge for it.
right.
But just having the mindset that, okay, I don't know what I'm getting into, I'm really dealing with the unknown, but no matter what, I'm going to see this thing through. I'm determined. I have tenacity. I have this grit that's a part of my lifestyle. And yeah, man, and just get to it. So I think that's probably one of the most critical things, to determine, right, as when you make the decision to do it.
That's great. How did you start? How did you start? What brought you to freelancing?
Man, it's been a long journey. Long journey. I actually started freelancing while I was still in college at Tennessee State. Go
Oh,
Big Blue. I It's funny. I got interested in graphic design, and so I was doing like CD covers and flyers for like local artists, like bands and stuff like that in Nashville. And in Nashville, the music scene is pretty heavy. So,
so
you know,
yeah,
it, it,
I think for young people, we have to stop for a second and tell the young people that CDs were things that people put music on, and you got to get these discs, and you can put them in your car or a device, and you listen to the music that way.
yeah. So a CD actually stands for compact disc,
That's
right?
great.
And we use them for everything. We use them for music. We use them to transfer files. We used them, like, that was before thumb drives,
That's
right
right.
after this. You know?
I had a whole bunch of CDs that I would record something on, some music, or even like, um, even like what you call it, like files. Everything you would put. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was back in the day,
yeah.
1990s.
It's so funny, man, because a lot of my early work, actually, my early artistry, I still have them on my disc. I don't have anything that can read a CD. I don't have any kind of computer that can read a CD, but I still
So,
have those discs.
I think
It's
I do too. I
yeah,
took all of the CDs that I own, I uploaded them. I got rid of the jewel cases because that was so much.
yeah,
I uploaded them to Apple, and now Apple still recognizes them that I own them, which I think is kind of
that's cool.
cool. It's
That
pretty
is cool.
cool.
So
But there's
yeah,
still
man.
so
So
many
I'm
stuff. I try to say I'm not a clutter person. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I'm always talking about clutter." The CDs are in a case, and the jewel boxes are gone. So I'm not cluttering the world with that. So yeah, I just thought that was a cool point you made.
yeah, man. So it was really a natural kind of transition for me, because at first it was just something that I was interested in doing, and I had fun. I was enjoying learning Adobe Illustrator,
Oh yeah.
and doing all these really cool things. And then I decided to take a class, a graphic design course at Tennessee State. And I learned so much about just fundamentals of design, Um, just yeah, and it blew my mind, and I was like, okay, how far can I really take this? So right then, I went downtown Nashville, um, and I filed for my first company, which was
Wow.
Deep Thought Graphics. Deep Thought Graphics,
Wow.
and
That is deep.
yeah, yeah. So I still have my first business license. I was so proud of myself, because I was taking some business classes too,
Right.
and so I was just kind of following what I was learning in class and applying it as I went, and it enhanced my whole experience in college. But I realized that I was spending more time focused on my business than I was really studying and doing my work. Um, which that's a whole nother story. I spent 5 years in school instead of four.
Oh,
So, but I was
there,
learning.
there are a lot of people who got that kind of path. So
Yeah,
you finished, which was the key thing.
I did finish. I did,
Yeah.
and I got some real world experience as a business owner, and that was something that I did not expect to get when I went to college, but it's been valuable for my entire life. I've been able to go back to those times and remember what I learned from that and apply those lessons even today.
Right.
Even teaching my son,
Wow.
about business, who he's an entrepreneur too now. So
Your son,
it's been a really good
your
journey.
son is a
Yeah,
teenager, right? Isn't he? How old is he?
he's 16.
Oh, okay.
He's
That's
16
awesome.
now. Yeah,
That's awesome. I wish somebody would have shared some of those kind of concepts with myself. So that's fantastic that you're doing that with them. It really is.
yeah, me too. Me too. Um, but that's also why I feel like it's important to uh, to um, to just have just kind of a baseline for starting and jumping into something like freelancing. No matter what it is that you do, it doesn't have to be something creative. Even if you're like a freelance or resume writer,
Hmm.
these are just kind of fundamental things to get you through, to make sure you have a solid foundation, you know, and you also have some kind of direction.
Gotcha.
So hopefully it helps. It's helped me. The information has helped me. So hopefully it helps you guys out there.
What was the biggest challenge that you found as you went on your freelance journey? Like, what was the biggest obstacle, whether it was work or time or clients? What was the biggest thing?
The biggest challenge was, and still is, creating a consistent stream of revenue from freelancing. That's like always the thing. You might not always have a client. you know, um, especially if it's not set up properly. You might not always have a client, and it can be feast or famine. Like us, if it's not set up properly, it can be feast or famine. And there's some principles that I'm still learning and applying, but I think that has been the biggest challenge. Um, but I have a solution for that.
Oh,
So that I've been able to develop because of all the lessons that I've learned over this time period.
that's right. Yeah. So tell us one of those. Don't tell them everybody because you want people to help you out. Just tell us the first one or like the biggest one. Just one.
Well, the biggest one really, man, is putting clients on a retainer.
Ah,
That's a big one. And in order for you to be able to put a client on a retainer, you have to have some type of package that you're offering, and a package that's something that's solving a problem for this client every single month. And so that's been a really good solution. Of course, there are others, but that's probably like the biggest one.
did you have a contract or something you crafted like a template for a retainer when you're
Yeah.
working with a client?
Yep. Yep. I have several contract templates. Several, but I definitely have one for that. And there's a whole section on contracts and agreements, um, that I have set up, you know, to go into. But yeah, man, that's
So
important.
so if somebody's out there now and they're saying to themselves, "Well, I want to freelance and I want to get into freelancing, or I'm looking for another stream of income, what's like the what are a couple of things that you would say, all right, do this first, or think about this first?
Think about your whys. Why do you want to do it?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, think about that. Because even if you're really passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, that passion is going to wane sometimes. There are going to be moments where that passion is just it's not going to be able to get you through. You know, to keep you pushing. But if you have big enough whys, if you had like I'm retiring my mom, or I want my wife to stay at home with the kids, or I just I need to set up this legacy for my for generations to come. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like these are kind of things that it's like, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not just so I can feel good about it. I mean, that's important too, but it's not going to always sustain your push through. Outside of that, I mean, that's like mindset stuff, but it's important. And I know it sounds like fluff. It's important.
No,
Um,
it's not. It's values, right? It's the values that you have before you do something.
yeah, man. And a lot of people kind of skip past that. You know.
I have had people that comes to me and always say, "Well, can you help me? I'm trying to figure out. I want to make some more money. I'm money hungry." In those kind of
Right.
terms, which sounds good, like on a commercial or United States. This you in the United States, you're supposed to be that. You're supposed to be all about the money.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there's a reason why you want the money, and usually there's a who behind the why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and sometimes the who is yourself, but
Yeah.
I would say 8 out of 10 times, it's like the examples you mentioned about going out and finding a way to help your mom or your children or your significant other. Those
Mhm.
are powerful, compelling reasons to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to just, oh yeah, I just want to go to one. Money just sounds good, but you really want it for some other reason. Even if you're doing it for yourself, there's something you're trying to solve in yourself, right?
Yeah,
So,
man. Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Something that you want to activate within yourself so
yeah,
that you can experience your full potential. You
yeah,
know, which is really important too. So even if there's like no family or anything, it make it bigger than yourself. I think Will Smith, he said something about having an ideal and allowing that ideal to be your motivation. Like, um, and also Power versus Force talks about this. That's a book. Power
mm,
versus Force talks about you know um, having principled motivations. So having a principle with power behind whatever it is that you do. So Dr. King had the principle of all men are created equal. There are very few principles that vibrate at a frequency higher than love, and that was like pure unadulterated love that he was
mm,
operating on. And so when you align your mindset and your actions with a principle that's bigger than yourself, then that's going to take you a lot further. But that's what I'm saying. Like this,
yeah,
that's something that people skip over, and I did too. I had to go back and kind of rework all of that stuff into my life once I started to understand the value of it. Um, because I told you the first thing that I did was once I after I got some more education,
mm,
I just went and got a business license. you know,
yeah.
uh,
I think
yeah.
sometimes you have to have a powerful ambition to do things. I know in my case, I've learned so much by having a big, big goal.
Hmm.
It can't be like a just, oh yeah, I just want to lose 5 pounds or something like that. It's got to be like a big thing. Like, why will that make me feel healthier? I want to go on, I want to be on a trip. I want to spend some time with my loved one. That is the key thing. So, when you think about freelancing these days for yourself, and you already talked about some of the difficulties that are out there. What are a few steps that somebody says, I'm ready to do it right now? Well, and even before that, there's something in the middle of the desire and the execution of the desire. And it sounds like you have to develop your skills and what you want to
Yes.
freelance on. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely something that you want to do. Like I said, a lot of people, they find something that they're passionate about, and then that's kind of where they go, right? I want to bring this thing that I'm passionate about into the marketplace. And if you're passionate about it, chances are you already have some level of skill, and that's good. But you can always, learn more. You can always deepen your knowledge base of whatever the skill is, and then you can always skill stack,
Yeah. So talk
which is
about skill stack a little bit for people.
oh man, skill stacking is like the dopest thing ever, especially for somebody like me, because um, so there's this book called "How to Be Great at Almost Everything."
I've never
Um,
heard of that one before. How to be great at almost everything. I have to write
yeah,
that one
how to be great at almost everything, and it talks about this whole principle of skill stacking and how to um, how to learn new skills, and then how to integrate those skills into mastery.
down. Yes.
But it's like, well, you don't have to really become a full specialist in any one thing. You can be really good or really great at a lot of different things. You don't have to master something to get the benefits of being great at it.
That's an
And
interesting concept. Because I feel that that's sort of my life a little bit.
yeah.
I did a podcast recently about people trying to put you and I into certain boxes. And it's
Mhm.
hard for someone like me, for example. Like, I'm a great interviewer, for example.
Yeah.
I'm a great public speaker.
Yeah.
I'm a very good writer. I'm a very good director. I'm
Yeah.
even quasi a decent actor. I got all of these things. So that's when it's skill stacking because you make sense of, well, like if when I have a play, I can employ or deploy all of those skills
Mhm.
in a play production.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And even if you still outsource some of that stuff, right? Some of that work, because you have a knowledge, and a substantial knowledge of each one of those things, you can still add value and push that project forward and align it with something, better than what it would have been had you just did everything by yourself,
That's right.
or just trusted somebody else to do it, and you know what I mean? Like, there are things.
Right. Because if
um
you do that, you don't have a sense of the skill and you just like farm it
yeah,
off to someone else.
yeah, and it's hard to communicate.
It's a couple things that can happen. Number one, you can get not a great value for whomever you're sending that to. And,
Yeah,
and then number two, you may not have, to your point about how to integrate that into whatever project you're dealing with.
yeah, yeah. And the biggest thing is the communication aspect. So because you don't have a skill in this area, it's harder to communicate with the person who does have, like a specialized skill level. And so the whole thing, especially when you're dealing with film, or like a play
You,
production, that's a collaborative
you,
process.
you need a lot of people for any one of those, regardless of your skills. You still need people.
You do, but just think about how how elevated the project can be if you have like if you have all these skills that you stacked over time, because you put focused concentration on directing for a short period of time. And so now it's like, okay, I understand what directing is. you know I understand what good directing is,
Yes.
and I know the difference, and I understand these principles. But I also understand, camera, camera work, and camera direction, and cinematography, and I understand lighting and how that tells a story. So you can
I
you
feel the
can
same
have
way.
this.
I was going to say I feel the same way about theater, for example. Like I know all of the aspects of theater, not just in a passing, but I
Mhm.
know how it integrates. Whether it's a dramaturg, a stage manager, the lighting people, all of that stuff. I know it. I
Yeah,
can't do it because I got it's a team effort to do things like that. So you need great people to do it, but at least I know it.
yeah, yeah. And so, but that's that's also the life of an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And that's something that people who are looking at freelancing need to understand is that freelancing is going to require you to skill stack. Is going to require you to build your skills in a lot of different levels: sales, communication, product development.
Probably have to
You
know a
know,
decent amount about their money.
yeah, yeah, pricing. Like all of this stuff, marketing. You contracts, even the legal stuff. So you do have to get your skills up in those areas. Um, but I think the first step, if someone was like, okay, I have the mindset, I'm ready to go, let's move. What do I do now? I know what kind of service. I've taken classes. I'm skilled. What can I do right now? I would say, and this is part of it. Go ahead and set up your business structure first. And what that means is getting getting your business license. So setting up your LLC or sole proprietorship or whatever it is, do that first. Then get a bank account. This is just like really basic stuff. And so I know probably a lot of y'all already know this, but sometimes people don't, and they skip over this. So you want to set up your business structure. You want to get a bank account. Um, and then you want to understand like the difference between the different business structures, right? You want to understand what a 1099 is and why that's important, because if you're hired as a contractor, which is what you want, that's another way to to be able to know that you have revenue coming in on a consistent basis, is to be a contractor. The contractor services is know what that 1099 life is like. What does that mean for your taxes? Really understand these principles. Um, Not just about, as much as you want it to be, it's not just about doing the service, you know, and you want to have your business set up properly so that your whatever money is coming into your business is separate from your personal, that you know how to pay yourself from your business, and then you know how to account for all of your expenses when you file your taxes, including your income.
I hear you, Dap. Hang on for a second. I think we're having some connectivity issues for those who are out there. Everything you said, I heard it clear as a bell.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, especially specifically around the business structure, making sure you got your license, your 1099s, and all of that ready to go.
Yeah.
There's one piece in there that, for those of you having a disconnection um, on the stream, we apologize for that. But that's got some dope stuff you just shared in regards to how you need to structure yourself. And you've learned that all along the way, Dap, it appears that you've learned how to make sure you put that all together in an
Yeah.
appropriate way. The one thing that I don't know if you were going to say perhaps is around being thoughtful about your tax situation. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Because the feds don't play about those taxes.
yeah. We saw a lot of people that just shared with us for the audience. He just shared that they don't play. You got to have your taxes right. There's a lot of people who manipulated, for example, the PPP loans and all of that that happened throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
People get
Yeah.
millions of dollars, and they were doing it in under nefarious and scrupulous reasons.
Yeah.
There was one thing I read about some company getting $350 million. And when they get money from the PPP loans, it ain't like the government's some arbitrary place. Like when they get the money from those places, it's our money. It's like so, like,
Right.
it is. It
Right.
is.
Yeah, man. And it's highly regulated. Am I still connected? Can you hear me?
I hear you clear, but I think you may be frozen for those who see you on the other side.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that's why I was doing a little maximization. And,
Okay.
but yeah, talking about all those things you need. I think what happens, and this is the same thing I encountered out when I talk to people about being more effective with their time, is that all of a sudden they hear the words of what I tell them, and they go, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of work." And they go, and that is fearful for people who fear the work to do it. I always say, people, you got to do something. So if if you want your life to be different, then work is not the worst thing that
Right.
you could be doing. So what else are you going to be doing if you're going to create this freelancing life for yourself, where you're going to be able to kind of control a little bit about your what you want to do in your life? It's worth the work. You got to do something anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to do some pieces anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you got to work. You got to work, and not just for the money, but the intrinsic value of work.
Yes.
Um, that work, it deepens a lot of different things. It deepens your resolve. It
Yeah.
deepens your understanding of how the world operates. You find that you have lots of value to offer, even beyond the product or the service that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's work is. People hear the word work, and maybe we should change it to something else. Maybe we shouldn't call it work. Maybe, I have a good friend who he's an actor. I have a
Mhm.
lot of actor friends. I'm an actor too. But he calls his auditions playtime.
Yes, I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, man. And he's one of the most dynamic, and yeah, he's an awesome human being, man. And when he introduced that concept to me of it's playtime, now I'm integrating that idea into my business, into my work. You know, I chose to do what I do, which is branding, marketing. I've been skill stacking, so now I shoot commercials and music videos, and what I'm saying, like all this different stuff, and it's my playground.
Gotcha. It's your playground. That,
This is
that,
my playground. My studio is my playground, and so I get to play, man. But sometimes that play also requires some administrative work.
yeah. I tell people all the time when it comes to administrative work, you can't neglect it. You
Yeah,
can't do it all the time. You have to find a way to balance some of your day to do the admin work,
yeah,
and then make sure you're doing the creative part. I know it's for most people, it's working on two sides of their brains, but that's kind of what's needed. You have to do what DAP says, the skill stacking, and you've got to learn a little bit about it. You can't get gouged, for example, by someone to do your finances.
yeah,
You gotta have an understanding of what to do on that versus just letting them take it from you. You gotta have at least a semblance. And if you don't have a semblance, you gotta make sure you got the right person doing it.
yeah,
You cannot let someone take advantage of you, because I think that's probably, maybe that's something you've encountered over your
yeah,
career.
yeah. I have, and I'm an artist and an entrepreneur. But I'm an artist. In my heart, I'm an artist, and I had to develop the entrepreneurial side. And so, I'll be honest. There was a long time, before I really started paying attention to the administrative stuff, and that's why I can tell you, like I've experienced those effects, so I know like what the IRS does when you don't pay your taxes or when you're not accounting for, your income properly, and
Yeah,
reporting that to them. Like I know what happens when you don't have your business income separated from your personal income, and you know what I'm saying, like
that's right.
I know what happens when you do that. So, I'm not up here like on this pedestal, like, I did everything right. I made a lot of mistakes, man. But that's part of it too. Man, I'm gonna sidetrack real quick. I hope you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
But I met this brother, young guy, 25 years old the other day, who's been running he has a fashion and design company that he's been running for 3 years. And um, we just got to talking. We just bumped into each other. It was real random, and we just got to talking, man. And he was like, I was a street guy. I was on the streets, and then I just decided to do this, and it's a lot different than what I thought. But he was like, I'm learning so much by being a business person, and I had to shift the way that I thought and get outside of my comfort zone in order for me to be successful. And he's in year 3, so he's like, I'm still in the red, but I'm building momentum and I'm experiencing, a modicum of success. And he was like, I'm just gonna keep pushing on through. But he realized at that young age that all he had to do was change his mindset. Now, the reason I brought that story up is because one of the things that he ended up talking about, um, oh man, was I lost my train of thought. But what I lost my whole train of thought. It was because it was just exciting to run across a young brother who was so focused on changing himself and being an impact in his community, uh, and through his business, through his
Yes.
business. And yeah, man, it's great to run into people like that. It'll come back to me what I was trying to point out. I was trying to say. It'll come
No,
back.
no, no, no worries.
Yeah,
So there's so many people out there who it's interesting because I run across this, and maybe you do too, where it's just like this battle, like people who hate corporate America and or on the flip side hate like freelancing. And it's maybe it's just part of the way our country is getting polarized on two sides of the island. It reminds me of that, and I'm
yeah,
saying to myself, why do people have to hate one or the other? Why is it so? Why does it have to be so adversarial? Like, I mean, people have bad experiences,
yeah,
and then they move over to freelancing. But in a lot of sense, it's to me the whatever life they had in corporate America helped them to prepare for their freelancing life.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because you're still getting tools.
Yeah,
Um, I I worked in corporate America for a short time, but when I went into corporate America, my mindset was I am still a freelancer even in this. We're under contract. I'm providing a service, and they are paying me for that service, and
right.
that's all this is right here. Um, that's it.
It's a similar thing, right? Paying for a
Yeah,
service, and
yeah,
usually it's a fractional compared to what you as a freelancer can attain.
yeah. Well, I mean, but that's all in the contract.
Right.
But it's also, since it's a contract that's determining that has terms, you can always negotiate the contract, and that's something that I don't think that people who go into corporate America, yeah, especially early on, have that in mind. Um, they're like, okay, this is the job, this is what they're saying that they can do, and they don't negotiate because it's in black and white already, and this is just the way they do things. And we have this idea that corporate America is just this like really firm entity, and it is in a sense, but you can still negotiate even if they say no.
That's right. You
You know,
can.
it yeah, you can negotiate. Something.
Yeah, I've done that in the past where I've negotiated. I
Yeah,
started a role many years ago and actually made like a table of what I was getting in the past and included things like benefits, like how much time off I had and all of these kind of things. I remember saying this out loud and to a group of executives. And no, I was saying, talking to a smaller group. And I was like, yeah, that's something you should negotiate. I remember this guy saying, that's stupid. I'm not going to negotiate time off and stuff like that. And then when we went back to the bigger group, the first thing that everybody came out of was like, no, I need to negotiate my time because because your time is important, man. You can't
it
just
is.
act like your time, and not saying you're going to take it, but it's still your time. You should still try to do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to you, and it's important to them. It's important to the company that you work for too, because that's what you're exchanging. You're
That's right.
exchanging your time for the money because they need that time. They need that dedicated, committed time from you in order to get the job done. You know, so it's the same thing. But that's a shift in mindset.
Right.
It's a
Shifting
shift in
mindset.
mindset. Um, So yeah, man. But there are other things that are important too when it comes to entrepreneurship. Once you have like your business structure set up, I would say your second step is to go ahead and get your marketing strategy together. Start thinking about your marketing and your advertising. And really, that's something that you do on the front end anyway when you're doing your business plan. Even as a freelancer, you still need a business plan because you are running a business. Freelancing does not mean side hustle.
Yeah. Isn't that an important distinction that a lot of people when they in the past, not yourself because you've always been an entrepreneur, but sometimes I've heard people say freelancing almost like you don't have a business and you're just a kind of W-2 employee. And that didn't seem right to me. That seemed like if you're a freelancer, you got to do all the things you talked about as far as a business planning and understanding what that should look like.
Yeah,
You've got to do all of that kind of stuff. And I
yeah,
think there's this thing that I've heard that was like, no, I'm just doing it, and it's just no, it's not. Freelancing is a business.
yeah, yeah. It is a business, and I remember why I brought up that brother. So I just want to real
No,
quick.
no
I
worries.
brought him up because he said something about learning lessons.
Yeah,
And what I said before is like you learn as you go, and that's true too. You bump your head, but one thing that he said that really struck me was that I he's been learning from other people's mistakes, and so he's like, I don't want to make those same mistakes because I don't really had that kind of time. I don't want to take the time to learn that. What I would do, what I am doing, is learning from other people's mistakes. So I'm studying people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing, running a business, and I'm seeing the mistakes that they made, and I'm making sure that I don't do the same thing. And I'm taking my time, and I'm going slow, and I'm being methodical about how I build my business. So those are two gems that
yes.
that's worth thinking about. A lot of people jump into freelancing thinking that, okay, listen, I'm jumping into freelancing because I can make more money doing freelancing than I can, in corporate America. I have more control over my time and my life, and it can move a lot quicker. That's not necessarily the case. You know, you're still building a company, and you want to be able to build your company at a pace that's you know that's good for you and that's good for your business. If you grow too rapidly, you could damage yourself and your reputation, and that can shut your
Reputation. Reputation. That's a very important piece for people
yeah,
to understand. Because
yeah,
once that gets damaged, it's tough to recover. It's possible, but it's tough,
yeah,
especially in the business world. I was hearing this story recently about somebody who was working on a theater production, and they were working with someone who was a really poor director, and they were just going back and forth with this person, and I'm saying to myself, if this guy is telling me this story, he's going to tell this story to like dozens of other people. And so this person's reputation in this a small world theater,
yeah,
this reputation is going to be impacted by this. And I don't know if this director person understood that or just wanted what they wanted. But
yeah.
everything you do, I tell you, everything you do is just on top. You mentioned the word marketing. Marketing, your reputation is like the key thing. You are the thing. In a lot
You
of
are,
cases, you are it.
you are. Which as a freelancer, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight that you are your reputation. You are your business. Your business is you. So everything that you do, everything that you stand for, everything that you project out into the world also affects your business. And you can't separate the two, especially once it's out in the public. So I mean, you can have your private life and you do what you do in your private life, but you keep that private, you know. But once you start bringing that into the public sphere and you're a freelancer, that is your, you know, so you get to curate what what you let the world see. But I like to do things with integrity, you know. And we always want to want to perform at our highest level, and sometimes we miss the mark. We all make mistakes. But the thing about it is how you handle those mistakes.
That is so key. There's a book behind me called You Incorporated, written by a guy named Harry Beckworth, and it's probably 20 years old. But what he's telling us in the book is what you just told us, is that your reputation is the thing. And I don't think people understand that sometimes, especially these days where people are putting all kinds of posts on like social media, for example.
Yeah,
And they say, oh yeah, I'm just mad at somebody.
yeah,
I don't care. I'm just mad at somebody. Or
yeah,
I'm going to be beefing with somebody, or I'm going to reveal myself, like my body or something like that. And they think that, oh yeah, it's no thing. It's not a thing. No, you're who you are and how you represent. It's like every single thing you do is like a little cookie crumb about who you are. All
yeah.
of it.
That's called branding. that's that's your brand, which is why like I wear this. I wore this T-shirt on purpose for this interview. One because it's Father's Day coming up, and
It's
Happy
a
Father.
great T-shirt, man. I love that
Thank
T-shirt.
you. I do too. But it also represents my brand. You know, these hats that I wear.
That's the
You know,
dap
I,
hat. That's the dap hat.
this I'm walking down the street, people shouting my name from down the street because they can see me with my hat on. It's a branding thing. Um, but we get an opportunity to, like I said, to curate what we put out into the world, and there's nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe in, and doing you or speaking your mind on certain things. There's no problem with that at all. um, I would just say be intentional about how you incorporate that into your brand, and if that's something that you want to incorporate into your story, the story of your business. And that's all branding is. A lot of people think branding is a logo, you know, the way the website look,
No,
that kind of thing. It's not. The
that's part of it.
branding is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of it, but that's just an extension of the story, of the essence of your you you and your company and what it represents. Um, and so, which is like that's the next section. So after mindset, after business structure, and you've done your business plan, you take that information that you researched, on marketing, on your marketing, your competition, and you start developing your marketing strategy. You build your because there's two things that all companies need, and two things that every company needs, and those are leads and a product or a service. And so if once you have a product and a service, now you need leads. So it's like if your product is the heart of your company, marketing is the heartbeat that's pushing out all the essential elements into the market, to saturate the market so that when that blood comes back into the heart, it has all the essential needs to keep that heart healthy.
Gotcha.
Marketing is that heartbeat. That's the thump, the rhythm.
And then
And
what,
so
what what problem are you helping to solve, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the service, right? What problem are you helping to solve? But how are you
So,
getting that message out there?
yeah, that's such a key piece of that.
Yeah,
And I see with all organizations, and even I struggle with this, is making sure that you get the message out and get it out in a real authentic way, right?
yeah. Which that's part of branding as well. So we have these two things, these two kind of elements, right, that feed each other. That's branding and marketing. Now they're not the same thing, but they work like this. They kind of need one another. The brand of your company is, like I said, that is the essence of that company. So like when you see Coca-Cola and you see a Coke can and it's red and it says Coke the real thing, or it says like classic Coke the real thing. Like that's all part of the branding,
Right.
because when you look at that Coca, you see a Coca-Cola commercial, everyone feels the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone feels the same thing.
I was
It's like
I was
it
having
will
this
be
conversation. Yeah, I was gonna say I had this conversation with a brother recently who has a really good product and really good service, and he was telling me about his name and his logo and his motto and all those slogans and all that stuff. And I was like, this is a lot. This is complicated for me to understand. I'm no dummy. And so what is your what is the noun and the verb of what you're doing? So like what is it and what's the action of it? And if you
yeah,
can distill that into something like a Coca-Cola, which is two words, you know, I don't know if the word cola existed 300 years ago. I don't think it was. I think somebody made that up. I don't even-
I think so.
yeah. The first part of coca was maybe the cocaine that was in it like 100 years ago. But
Yeah, which may still be in it now because they will not release the ingredients. That's a trade
that's
secret.
right.
You don't know. People are
And so I was trying to tell him he's like had a 4 word business. I was like, I don't know, man. Just gotta come up with like either one thing or two things, and that's it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's important. Simplicity. Keeping everything simple. And but that's why it's important to spend some time thinking about your brand. Thinking about what that essence of your company is. The marketing is just the tools that you use and the strategy that you use to get your brand in front of people. So like marketing is, I'm thinking about my marketing channels. So I'm thinking about, okay, I can do YouTube commercials on YouTube that everybody skip when it comes. Now you can't skip
Mhm.
those, or flyers, um, or a website, or social media posts. Those are different things to market your brand. It's different than your brand, but those are the tools that you use and the strategies that you use to get the brand out in front of people. Now, what the brand does is when it's out in front of people, right? Now people can feel something. The brand activates something inside of that person so that they take action.
Right.
So the
That's,
marketing is just a piece. How am I going to get in front of people? You know what I'm saying? How am I going to put myself in front of people? Right? I'm in front of people. Now I'm in front of people. Now what? And a lot of people
that's right.
forget about that. It's like, okay, well, as soon as they see my juice, they gonna want it. No, no, that's not true. Why they want your juice? What makes your juice different? Why does your juice feel different? And it's gonna feel different because of the message that you put into that branding.
And there's this piece around connecting with people in a real, direct way. So,
Yeah.
for example, in a way that touches them, that makes them act. To your point, I think you used the word activate. They're
Yes.
like, oh, I want a Coca Cola because it's gonna make me feel good.
Yes.
I think that's why people drink or why they like it. And they go, I want it to feel good because I like the way it tastes.
Yeah.
Because it's about them. I like the way it tastes. I ain't buying the Coca Cola because it's the way you like it tastes. It's activated something in me. It makes me feel good. It's nice. It's cool. My popcorn, whatever it is that drives them to do that.
Yeah.
And you're so right that even in the example I was talking about, where the brother had a really good plan about what he was trying to do and who he was trying to do it, but the actual message about it was kind of too much. It was too many words. There's too many things. There's too many services. I was like, you gotta think about how do you get the person who wants to get the heart of your service. Just tell them that, and
Yeah.
don't tell them the other stuff.
Hold back just a little bit.
That's right. Just tell them that I'm trying to do this because I'm trying to help your life. Cool.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
talk to you now. Huh?
Yeah. And show it.
That's right.
So now like business corporations are now moving into show business,
Oh yes.
right? We just thought that show business was entertainment, but no. Every everyone, like every Fortune 500 company has a commercial. or something, visual for you to see. And so that's show business. So let's go back to Coca-Cola. You never see a Coke commercial where somebody's holding a Coca-Cola and they look angry. You would never ever see that. Every time you see somebody holding a Coke in their hand, they're smiling, they're happy, they're having fun, and that's what you feel be feeling it in the commercial. So
That's
now,
right.
I want to have fun, even if I've never even had Coke, but if I see a Coca-Cola commercial and it's like the sweat dripping down the bottle, and it's hot and everybody having fun, and it's like sexy people walking by, and I'm like, I might want me a Coke. You know what I'm saying? Next time I go to the store, I'm gonna get one of them. That looks like it's fun. So that's the feeling that's conjured up, with the brand, the messaging.
You
Um,
know,
so
you make
you
such a
that step, you get to that step, the whole branding step after you've already, established who you are in the marketplace. You know who your ideal client is. So that's the other thing. That's what you're talking about with the brother that you just referred to. You have to establish a niche. And I know, like, that's, especially for freelancers, that's a scary thing, because it was scary for me. I'll speak for myself when I first came across this information, because I'm like, I service everyone. I can do a logo and a website for anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. But what that does is that makes you way too broad, and it actually limits you. So as a freelancer, you want to have a very distinct niche that you service. I still struggle with that.
yeah.
I'll be honest. I still struggle with that, because I get, my clients at this point in the game are from word of mouth. I don't do a whole lot of advertising. Like, you won't see me posting on social media about my services. I don't do that. Most of my stuff is word of mouth. But so I have people call me, and they're like, they do something completely different, and I'm like, well, I have to say no, because that's not in my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Or I might do it and outsource it to somebody else. You know, to do.
That's just a key thing about connections, right? Like, even if you can't provide it to a person, just making sure that they can, or you can
Yeah,
reroute them somewhere else. The one thing that you said to me that struck me was finding your own niche. And I remember, and it wasn't me who coined this. I was having the conversation with somebody. There's 7 point something billion people on the earth,
yeah,
right? There's 10,000 people who would want your service. Everybody on earth can find 10,000 people. It's hard, but you can. And if you can show real benefit or value to them, and find a way that they would give you $100 for your thing, after that 10,000, you are a millionaire. 10,000 times 100 is a million.
yeah,
The hard thing about all of us, me, you, everybody, is to find where them 10,000 people are.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the hard part. If it's 7 billion people, that means it's harder to find the 10,000.
It is, but in this day and age, it's not as hard as it used to be,
That's for sure.
because we have technology like this. We're having a conversation where we can see each other. And we're in two different parts of the city.
That's
You know,
right. Yeah,
Actually, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you in another somewhere traveling, or what.
I
But
could be in Japan right now. You don't know, but like, yo,
yeah,
Winston, you got a lot of books back of you in Japan. I don't.
yeah, man.
But
But that's what kind of gives us a different type of edge. But today, because of technology, but the other thing too is it has also um, like brought down the barrier of entry for a lot of services and products, for a lot of business. So it's a lot of static out. You have a lot of competition, a lot more now than you did 20, 30 years ago, in certain areas. But like you said, Winston, 10,000 people to connect with, to that you can convince to believe in your product over anybody else's product simply because they have an emotional connection to your brand and your story. And that's something that's very, very doable because now all you're talking about is telling a compelling story. And
Right.
we're storytellers.
That's right. We are. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
As thank you so much, Dap, for joining. Hopefully, those of you who are out there listening, you can get some of these bits of wisdom from Dap as far as freelancing is concerned. I wanted to get our last little section here to talk about this one thing that's kind of in my mind a little bit. So when you think about freelancers and what they are facing out there, everyone talks about the unemployment rate in the United States, and supposedly it's good, but then there's like 11 million jobs or whatever, 12 million jobs that are open. And every time someone tells me this, Dap, I say to myself, I don't think you have the full picture there. Because if those 10,000 jobs are somewhere out in the hinterland somewhere doing something, that ain't cool. People aren't down with that. People, they're not. And I get this sense that there's a lot of people in that.
Uh-oh. I think we lost you, Winston. Okay.
Really working on how
So I
did
think we,
they.
we lost Winston. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I was just saying how this freelancing, this situation, I think people are out there doing the work, but they're just not. This 11 million job gap's not real, in my opinion. I think people are just freelancing. They're just doing other stuff.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
doing other. They
It
doing
may
other.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may be real. I'm not 100% sure. I hadn't been keeping up because I've been freelancing.
See,
but
that's what I'm saying. I think that people are they just like not doing. I think there's some people who think about it in the old terms, things like, oh yeah, there's something. These people aren't doing any work. No, they're working. They just ain't doing what you want them to do.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. There's something because I see people working all the time. I barely see anyone who's not working two or three jobs and a side hustle.
That's
And a
exactly right.
business. They selling
That's exactly.
juices and and
Yeah,
taking
juice.
taking pictures and all kinds of stuff, man.
That's
Um,
awesome.
it's this is what I'll say to that though. I will say that there is a lot more opportunity out there for us to create. And so, of course, there's a lot of opportunity out there right now, but there's a lot more opportunity out there for us to create. And as creative minds and as freelancers, as entrepreneurs, as people of progress, then, that is our charge is to create more opportunities and let that be our drive.
Yeah, that is so right on, brother. So that's so great to have you here. For those of you who are listening to this, thank you for joining today. This will also be on the kianasvoice.org website, so you can plug into that. We'll ask for a donation. Like I said, we've got a long way to go to get to the $5,000 mark, so we can give to that deserving young person. So please help us as any way you can in order to get to that point. Either if it's $10, $5, because you probably wanted to have some creative tools. Or you knew of somebody who said, man, if such and such just had a better camera, or such and such just had the software, the Adobe or the other types of software, then that would help them. So, Dap, as we're here closing out, what's the final word for the people?
Um, I think that was it. I think that was it, man. I this is not something that I get to talk about all that much freelancing, but I feel like because I prepared for this meeting, I'm like I need to put a class together. So I'll be putting together a class on freelancing real soon, and I'll let you know, Winston, when that's done. But I'm saying this live, and I'm saying this to you in particular, Winston, because I know you will hold me accountable as well as all the viewers, and I will see it through.
That's
no matter what happens, right?
that's
That's
right.
that faith.
I got your back, brother, and I know you got mines. And
Yeah,
that's the important thing as you grow in this world is that people you can really trust and really figure out how do you align horizontally with is so important. Like how are you helping each other versus
yes.
what we've been taught that is vertical, and that's just not how we as a people work. So thanks so much, brother. This has been great, fantastic. For those of you out there, please make sure you see the QR code, you see a Cash App. Please figure out ways because we really want you to help us help that person. We're not using these funds for anything else but that person. So thanks again, brother. I know we got great things coming up here in the future, so it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure as always.